with me, turn to Matthew 14. I don't know how long this message is going to be. I'm just going to get into it and see what we come up with. If you need a title for it, I call it The Perfect Storm. That goes right in with what Miss Rosemary was saying just now. We've all gone through some stuff. And some of us in here right now are going through some stuff this morning. Some of the people that watch us live on Facebook are probably going through some stuff. Some of you, you've seen the rain coming. Coming up, going down the road a couple of weeks ago, you can see the rain back on the mountainside. It's just like a big wall of water coming toward us. And sometimes you can see that storm approaching. You can see it coming upon you. And you can just step outside and you look around, you see it, and you have plenty of warning. You see it moving in. You can see it's coming your way. You know it's coming. And you can feel the wind just kicking up and blowing. So you know that there's a storm coming in. You might see flashes of lightning. You might hear thunder. And sometimes it can be a little bit frightening. I like to watch the thunder and lightning. Sometimes that lightning hits, and no sooner does it hit, you hear the thunder immediately. You're going, oh, whoa, that was close. That's right on top of you. So it can be a little frightening. Sometimes you can see it coming in, and you've got time to get in out of the rain, you get into safety before you get all soaking wet. Other times you misjudge how soon it's coming in, you get soaking wet from it because you misjudged just where that storm is and how fast it's coming. Other times the lightning chases you inside. Just all of a sudden there's lightning flashing everywhere. You wonder, whoa, I got to get inside because it's chasing you. It's like it's chasing after you. You got to get inside. But listen, there's one thing I want you to remember when you're in the storm. No matter how intense those things might be, no matter how strong that wind's blowing, this is surely, as you saw the rain approaching, you saw the lightning coming, that storm is going to pass. The storm has a beginning, it has an end. Whatever you're going through this morning, it has a beginning and it has an end. It will pass. It may be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be next week, I don't know. But whatever storm you're in, just know this, it will pass. When we was going through the situation here 2 months ago, and was having to move, stepped outside and I was praying, and God said, this too shall pass. And the thought came to me, a year from now, look back and see where you are. Because this storm will pass. Well, that's the same thing for whatever you guys are going through. This storm will pass. It will not last forever. It will pass. Now, I want to talk about a storm and about some people that were in this storm. And that's in Matthew 14. And I want to talk about what this storm meant. Because this storm I'm going to talk about was a perfect storm. If you can believe that, it was a perfect storm. See, if you get into Matthew and you read it, you'll see that Jesus and his disciples had some bad news come to them. Their friend, their fellow laborer, John the Baptist, had been killed. Okay? And so they were downhearted. And when Jesus heard this news, he had his disciples take him by boat to a deserted place. Took him someplace, actually a lonely place in some accounts it says. He took him to a lonely place. Probably wanted just to get by himself for a while. Probably wanted to get with the Father. But it didn't stay that way for long because the crowds followed Jesus. They went with him. And so Jesus, when he saw him, even though he was hurting, he was filled with compassion. And so he ministered to him. He took time to talk to the crowd. He took time to touch them. He took time to heal the sick and to teach them. Even though he was going through some stuff himself, he took the time because he had compassion. And then when the evening came, the disciples were probably tired. They were a little bit stressed out. They asked Jesus to send the crowds away so they could get something to eat. But Jesus had already taken care of them. He had 2 loaves and 2 fishes, and he fed them all. Then he had, I think it was over 5,000 people he fed. Then he had like 12 baskets full left over. So even though he was going through some stuff himself, he still had time to minister to people and to meet their needs. So the disciples were tired. It had been a stressful day. So they didn't argue with him. Jesus said, get in the boat, go to the other side. They didn't argue with him. They thought, man, we'll get in the boat, it's late, but we can take turns rowing, we can get plenty of rest. We can split it up so we won't get too tired. And Jesus said he'd send the crowd away. So they got on it. They got into this boat, and they were on their way. And they thought, man, if Jesus sent us, it's going to be easy. We'll get plenty of rest. It didn't last very long, though, for them. It's in the story. It says the boat was in the middle of the sea. It had been tossed by the waves. The wind was contrary, it says. Now in Matthew 14:24, it says, now in the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went to them, walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a ghost. And they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I, do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. So he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? But when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped him, saying, truly, you are the Son of God. The storms in this area, they were used to storms. They would come up quickly because you had the mountains, you had that surrounded the sea, you had the heat of the desert, and that cool mountain air would meet with that desert hot air, and it form some terrible storms. And they would collide out over the sea. These were fishermen. They were used to these storms coming in, the rough waters coming in. They were more than used to these storms, being fishermen that they were used to these storms coming in. But it must have seemed odd to them that this happened. There must have been something different about this storm because they were in fear now. It was disturbing them. And you've got to remember, they were doing what Jesus told them to do. Jesus told them to get in the boat, go to the other side. They were doing what they knew Jesus told them to do. They were doing his bidding. They were doing what they knew Jesus wanted to do. But now they're fighting just to hold their own. Come on. We've all been there. Hey, Lord, I know you told me to do this, but man, I'm struggling, I'm fighting, I'm barely holding on. We've all been there. We've been through that storm. You're building water like there's no tomorrow. Trying to get the water out of the boat. I remember when I was young, my dad took me up to Beaver Lake. We went up there every year for a vacation. We got in the boat and it had all the water. It had that much water in the bottom of it. I thought we were sinking. I was trying to get the water out of the boat. But sometimes we go through a storm. We're trying to get that water out of the boat just as fast as we can bail it out. We throw one out and there's more coming in. And the rowing is so hard you can't hardly do it. You wear yourself out rowing that boat, trying to make headway. And you look around and you're saying, Jesus, where are you? He's nowhere to be found. Come on, am I the only one that said that to him? Where are you, Jesus? Well, I'm on this shelf. Why did you put me on the back of the shelf and put jars in front of me and forget that I'm back there? Come on. I know I'm not the only one in here.
Help, Jesus.
Yeah, help, Jesus. Where are you? What's going on? Why can't you hear my prayer?
Lord, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand. Right. Yeah, I told my mom one time my prayer's bouncing off the clouds. Not even reaching heaven. Listen, if you're part of this message, we've all been in that boat with those disciples. We've all been in that boat. We've all been caught unawares by a storm blowing in the midst of doing what we're supposed to be doing. We've had trials, we've had tribulations. And we've all sat there and we've all been saying, I'm doing what you asked me to do, God. At the same time, we're saying we're doing what you asked us to do, we're having to bail that water out of that boat. We're sinking. We've got both hands throwing water out the boat, trying to stay afloat. But God, where are you? It's not fun when you're in that situation. It's not fun at all. It's stressful. It can be disheartening. You've been there, I've been there. We've all been there. You'll be there again, I'll be there again. Trials and tribulations. At some point, there's another trial, another tribulation coming. I don't know when. I don't know where. You and I will be battling the storm. We'll be battling a storm of fear and of doubt. We'll be wondering, where are you, God? We'll be tempted to throw up our hands and say, I just give up. Why are you doing this to me? What's going on? But listen, when that happens, there's two things we need to remember. Two things I want to bring up. First, Jesus never promised storms wouldn't come. He didn't promise you that it's all be smooth sailing. In fact, in John 15:20, he said this. He said, remember the word that I said to you, the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you. See, that sounds like it's a tough storm, to be able to stand a storm of persecution. That's a tough storm to go through. It comes in many forms. Might be a lost friend or a loved one who doesn't want anything to do with you anymore because of your faith and your beliefs in Jesus. Just say you went out on the deep end. Maybe on your job it's a missed promotion because we refuse to play the games that they want you to play. Come on. Listen, contrary to what the TV preachers tell you, when you come to Jesus, everybody's not going to love you. I got news for you. You're not going to get that promotion because you love Jesus. You don't have a bunch of friends because you love Jesus. You don't get the big house on the hill because you love Jesus. He says you're going to have persecution because you love me. And it's hard when you go through those. It might be physical persecution you go through. Listen, it might be another type of story. It might be a life-changing injury that you suffer. You might have worked for a company for 20, 30 years, and then all of a sudden they're closing that company down, and you're out of a job. You might lose a loved one due to death. See, Jesus was caught in other storms too. He wasn't just this storm or persecution storms. He went through other storms too while he was here on the earth. Listen, remember the sorrow he had to endure in the death of Lazarus. That was a storm. How about the frustration he had to go through when his followers just didn't understand what he was trying to teach them? They just weren't getting it. Come on, that gets frustrating. Keep trying to teach somebody over and over and over how to do something. They're just not getting it. You find that you just get frustrated with it. Didn't understand what he was trying to do. Come on. They come, storms come, many sizes, many types of intensity. Some are minor, some are strong, some are tense. But we all go through some sort of a storm sometime in our life. Some of us in here this morning or listening on the live broadcast are going through storms right now. And you're wondering what in the world is going on. They're going to come. You can't get around it. They are going to come. There's a Lillian Smith that wrote in the book, Now is the Time. She said this, trouble, why do we fear it? Why do we dread an ordeal? Every good thing that the human race has experienced was trouble for somebody. Our birth was trouble for our mothers. To support us was trouble for our fathers. Books, paintings, music, great buildings, good food, ideas, the nameless joys and excitements which added up to what we call a good life come out of the travail of countless hearts and minds. Somebody travailed and brought that to pass. Was it Thomas Edison failed 100 and some times? He said, well, now I know 100 and some ways it doesn't work. Yeah, that would be frustrating. So you go through things. And the other thing I want to point out, the second thing is that the storms that we face, they're there for a reason. They're there for a reason. Some of them are ones that we create ourselves. Some of the storms we go through are our own doing. You might have financial problems because you're just not handling your money right. And it's not because God's punishing you. Okay? But sometimes we blame God for the storms, but they're not His fault. We're saying, God, what are you doing? It's us. It's us that's doing it. But there's other times when the storms are sin. So it might be God is trying to strengthen us. Now, I don't think God sends the storm to us. I think He allows them. You know, if you go back to Job, he allowed Satan to go against Job. He put parameters of what Satan could do. But at the end, Job now knew God instead of just hearing about God. So God might be having that storm in your life to strengthen you. He might be trying to get your attention. He might be trying to get you to pay attention. And of course, it could just be Satan just trying to come in and frustrate you. Trying to get you to just give up. Turn your back on God. You know, like I mentioned before, Job is the best example. But just think of the faith that God had in Job by allowing Satan to come in there and test him. That's another thing to think about. God had faith that Job was going to go through this. Okay? And that brings me to 1 Corinthians 10:13. And it says, "There hath no temptation taken you, but such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that ye may be able to bear it." You see, whatever you're going through, God has made a way for you to escape, a way for you to bear this trial, this tribulation, this storm that you're going through. God has already made a way for you to get through it. Come on, I'm talking to somebody out here. All right. Now we'll go back to Mark's account of the story, Mark 6:48. Because this is going to bring up another point here I want to bring out. (6:48). It says, "Then he saw them straining at rowing, for the wind was against them. Now about the 4th watch of the night, he came to them, walking on the sea, and would have passed them by." Did you catch that? It's easy for you to miss it if you're not careful, if you're not watching, just casually read this. It says, "Then he saw them straining at rowing." He saw them straining. Jesus hadn't deserted them. He was right there. He was watching. He was aware of what they were going through. Think about that. He was watching them. At no time were they ever out from the watchful eye of Jesus. You know, you're calling out, "Jesus, where are you?" And the whole time He's watching. He's got His eye on you. In the middle of that storm, He's watching. And you think about this, He was walking on the water. He was walking on the water to Him. What was He walking on the water for? Was He just trying to get to the other side? Just trying to get over to the other side? No, I think it was the shortest path there was to get to the apostles. To walk straight to them, through the storm, on the water. In John's account, he mentioned this 25, 30 furlongs out to the sea. That's about 3 miles. They were a long way from shore, but yet Jesus saw them straining through the storm. That's a pretty good walk, too. To walk 3 miles through a storm. See, Jesus must have cared an awful lot about them to be watching them so intently while they were going through this storm. Think about that. He cares so much that He's watching as you go through this storm. Then He takes pains to walk to them through the storm. I don't know what your storm is this morning, but Jesus will walk through that storm just to get to you. He'll walk right to it. See, and it's kind of funny that at first they think he's a ghost. They get afraid. Maybe they thought he was an angel of death coming to claim them. He saw him walking on the water. They might have thought, oh no, the angel of death is coming to get me. But it scared them. But whatever it was, whatever they thought, they couldn't believe their eyes when they looked out there and saw somebody walking on the water, coming toward them. Peter burst out and said, Lord, if it's you, really you, let me come and meet you. Let me come out there, let me meet you. See, he was looking for a sign, a message of proof, something to prove this is really you. And some of you might be in that predicament right now. You might say, give me some proof. Show me. See, Jesus isn't standing right there just in front of you, bidding you to walk through the storm, but the signs you need are all around you. All the signs are there. You begin in Genesis with the story of Abraham. He waited for a son. His story was that when he had that son, he had to sacrifice him. And he'd waited, 100 years for this son. But now God's saying, sacrifice him. And when he was asked about the sacrifice, he said, God will provide a lamb. So he had faith that God in this storm would get him through it. He trusted. Even though it didn't seem at the time to be logical. He trusted. God will provide. Joseph, he was sold into slavery. He followed God, trusting him to buy the way. He still followed God. He didn't give up. He rose to his second in command 3 different times. He rose 3 different times to a very powerful position. The children of Israel were under bondage by Pharaoh, and they worked for 80 long years waiting for deliverance. But it came. God provided it. And you can go on. Esther provided the way of deliverance for Israel. She was told, but for such a time you were born. Jonah was in the belly of a fish for 3 days. You could go on and on about these people that went through storms. But what's the common link? What's the thing at the end? The end of the storm took time. It took time for the storm to end. It was God's timetable. It's not our timetable. See, I can't tell you how long your storm will last, whatever you're going through, how long it will last, but it will end in God's timing. It will pass. So you might be in the middle of a storm right now. You might be going through something right now. It may seem like, God, you're not even here. Where are you? But He's working His plan in your life. He's got a plan and a purpose for you, and He's working it out in your life. So remember I said storms were created by us or sent to correct or maybe even perfect us. Earlier I said that. We need to remember, what we need to remember is let God work in our lives through the storms. Let Him work through our lives and what He wants to bring us into. He's working something out for you. We can't waste time complaining and moaning and throwing blame around. We're going through stuff. Sometimes it hurts. Doesn't feel good. You get frustrated. But we should need to use those storms as an opportunity to grow and mature. To grow up into Christ. It's an opportunity to let God make us bigger and stronger. See, they're not just perfect storms. They're perfecting storms. They're perfecting us for the work of the ministry. They're perfecting us that we can be a witness to other people. Like Rosemary said, John and I have been through a whole bunch of stuff. You guys have been through probably a bunch of stuff. We could probably all sit around and talk about all the stuff we've gone through and spend the whole week talking about what we've gone through. Or what we're going through now. But when you come out the other side, you're stronger. And there's another thing I want to bring out. That I think this is the last point about this storm. Peter walking on the water. Now, I've heard a lot of sermons about Peter walking on the water. You've probably heard about it too. You've heard about his lack of faith, the reason he sunk. He got to looking at the storm instead of Jesus, and he sunk. But here's something to overlook. To be put in that storm, God has confidence that you can withstand that storm. You hear me? He has confidence. When you're in that storm, He has confidence that you can stand that storm. And when they got in the boat, the wind ceased. In Matthew 14 again, it says, and this passage just slipped by, but we need to pay very close attention to it. Logic says it would have been easier to rescue Peter by first stopping the storm and then rescuing Peter. But Jesus didn't do it that way. He didn't do that. The important action was not stopping the storm. The important action here was rescuing Peter. That was the important thing to Jesus. Rescue Peter. And He walked through a storm to do that. The important thing was not to let the apostles know that He was with them. He was there to rescue Peter from drowning. Now you see what kind of effect it had looking back at another storm. And the apostles' reaction in that storm, in Matthew 8:27, Jesus says, "Peace be still." And the winds and the waves obey Him. And the apostles say, "What manner of man is this?" So He said, "Peace be still." And at that time, He was in the boat. And they were afraid they were going to sink. He said, "Peace be still." But here, this storm, it's been calmed. And the apostles worship Him and say, "Truly, you are the Son of God." You see, they learned their lesson. What a difference here between the two storms. Here they're saying, "You are the Son of God." So this was a perfect storm because it served to perfect them and how they looked at Jesus. See, like I said before, this was another storm. The first one, Jesus was in the boat. In this one, He wasn't physically there with them, but He was there in the Spirit with them. And in either case, did He stop the storm until they learned a lesson. Come on, what are we going through tonight? What's God trying to teach us through this storm that we're going through? How's it going to build up our faith? How's it going to perfect us when we come out of this storm that we're going through? Because He wants to perfect you. See, when we're in that middle of that storm, God won't always stop it just because we beg Him to. God, make it stop. Make it end. Some of you might be out there asking right now, make it hard. Make it stop hurting. Listen, I wish I could. I wish I could take your storm you're going through and say, "Okay, we're going to end it right now. Storm be gone." But I can't. I wish I could explain the reason why you're going through this storm in your life. But all I can tell you is this: there is a purpose for what you're going through. There is a purpose for that storm in your life. You might not know what that purpose is for years. Or it might be tomorrow. I don't know how long your storm is going to last. But there is a purpose in it. But I do know this: Jesus loves you so much that He'll be there. He's not left you. He'll be there walking on the water to get to you as quickly as He can. He'll be walking on that water. He'll be walking through that storm just to comfort you. He knows what you're going through. He sees you. You go back to Deuteronomy 31, Moses was given his final address to the children of Israel. They're getting ready to go into the promised land. They're going to cross the Jordan. But Moses wasn't going to get to go with them. Okay? I guess you can call that Moses' life. That was a storm. He's led him there, but he can't go in. But Moses understood who was making the decisions and why. And here he encourages the Israelites as they prepare to face new foes in a strange land. They're getting ready to go over. He says, "Be strong and of good courage." In the 6th verse he tells them, "Do not fear. Do not be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, He is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you." He said, there's going to be scary things over when you go across the Jordan. But don't be afraid. He is with you. He won't forsake you. He won't leave you. Whatever storm you're going through, He hasn't left you. He hasn't forsaken you. He's right there, and He's probably walking through that storm to you right now. And that storm will end. Storms rise, they blow, but they do end. They do get over. And at the end, there's something really beautiful when you come out of that storm. There's something beautiful. You've been perfected. You've been matured. Your faith has reached another level that it wouldn't have reached if you hadn't gone through that storm that you're going through. So I'm going to quote a great philosopher here, Dolly Parton. She said, hey, don't laugh. She said this: the way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. Come on, you want something beautiful at the end, you got to put up with the storm. Come on. See, you might be in the middle of a storm. You might go through doubt. You might go through fear. I don't know what you're going through. But remember, keep your eyes on the one who's walking through the storm to help you. Keep your eye on Him. He's walking through that storm to comfort you, to bring you peace. Let Him in the boat with you. Let Him calm the storm. Let Him calm you. Let Him do both. Keep your eye on Him. He's walking through that storm. Let Him in the boat. Either way you do it, you're not alone. He's with you. Some of you right here might need some help inviting Him into your boat. I don't know. I know most of you here. Some of you I vaguely know. But you might need help getting Him in the boat. And there's people here that will help you get Jesus in your boat. They'll be happy to assist you. I'll be happy to pray with you. Just ask Jesus, come into my life, Jesus. I'm going to trust you through this storm. The first step is that Jesus, come into my life. Forgive me my sins. If somebody out here wants Jesus, after I finish up here, listen, I'll be glad to pray for you to help you get Jesus in your boat. People that are watching live, if you haven't asked Jesus in, you need me to help pray for you, just let me know. Be glad to pray for you. The first step is to get Jesus in your boat. Realize that Jesus is going to walk through whatever storm you're going through to get to you, to rescue you. Amen. Father God, I just thank you for the attendance of these people tonight. I thank you for this message. I pray that it has ministered to people's hearts. Lord, I just pray right now that if anybody in the sound of my voice needs you, that they will say, Jesus, come into my heart. They will accept you as their Lord and Savior right now. In Jesus' name, amen. Does anybody here need prayer? As I'll pray for you.